Good evening. It's 6 p.m., August 23rd. We'd like to call this meeting to order. We ask we would start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we take roll at this time, the district's been informed of a loss this weekend of one of our beloved coaches, Milt Place, who passed away. So if we could please start with a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. If you take roll, please.
Mr. Harrison.
Here.
Ms. Pavlik.
Here.
Mr. Ross. Here. Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Thank you.
We have the minutes that are before us in item B1. If anybody has any additions or corrections to those minutes, we could entertain those at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the rescheduled regular meeting on July 8th, the special meeting on July 13th, and the special meeting we had on July 15th, and the work session on August 9th.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Pavlik. If you could please call roll.
Mr. Ross. Aye. Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
At this time, we have the agenda that's been prepared before us that is here tonight with action items 1 through 10, and then a few items separated out toward the latter part of the agenda. If we could entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Pavlik. I'll
Second.
second that.
Second.
If you could please call roll.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Mr. Ross. Aye. Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight I wanted to provide the board with an update on COVID. I was hoping heading into the school year we wouldn't have to provide these monthly updates on COVID, but unfortunately we're still in this situation, especially with the new Delta variant that we've all been hearing about. We are monitoring COVID across the district in a similar fashion that we did last year. Most of the COVID cases that are reported to us are reported from families outside the district. That means they're not cases that we're discovering, but they're cases that are discovered outside of the district. When that occurs, what we have to do is look back over a 2-day period from the symptom onset and do contact tracing. And that is per the Ohio Health Department, and those are mandates. That's in alignment with procedures that we provided to families earlier, prior to the start of the school year, and it's part of that flow chart that shows how the contact tracing works. That flow chart then determines, based off of the various steps, if an individual, whether it's a staff member or a student, falls into a category of needing to be quarantined, as well as the length of the quarantine. And that is dependent upon several different things, including vaccination status, as well as mask status, whether they were wearing a mask, as well as social distancing. So how close they were to the individual, and the amount of time that they spent within a close contact distance with that individual. What I want to share with the board is that we are seeing COVID cases as we did last year. Today alone, as of, I want to say around 2 o'clock today, I think we had approximately 8 cases reported just today alone. That number is on the higher end compared to numbers that we had last year. It is a Monday, though, coming off of the weekend. I would be more concerned if we were looking at that kind of a number on a Thursday, so that is something that we are paying attention to and watching. The part that is more concerning to me, or that I'm really trying to pay more attention to, is our quarantine numbers. And the reason why, and it's not that I'm not concerned about students or staff members getting COVID, but it's because the quarantine numbers tend to impact a larger amount of people. And when we are looking at quarantines, we're looking at staff members and students that are no longer being able to participate in the classroom or in school. We do have procedures in place to allow those students to continue with their academics. Our teachers have done just an outstanding job in working with families, whether it's been working through virtual instruction or providing assignments to go home. I know many of our teachers have gone above and beyond in terms of working with students, even beyond school hours, to keep them up to date. But it's not the same as sitting in the classroom. What I wanted to share with the board today is that we will be launching this coming week a campaign promoting masks in the district. We do not intend to require masks. We've had that discussion before with the board in mask being something that is an option for families. However, I think what's very important, and no matter what side you sit on this debate, I think one common ground we can all agree upon is that we want our students in school. The piece that's out of all our control, whether we like it or not, is the contact tracing and the quarantining that's mandated through the Ohio Health Department. The number one way we can prevent quarantines is through the wearing of masks. So what we would like to encourage is our students and our staff to wear masks to keep students and staff in school. And that's the message that we want to relay. And I feel like that's a message that we have already spoken, but we want to be louder and clearer with that message. What we have seen over the course of the past week is more students starting to wear masks. And that's because as students have gone into quarantine, families have become more aware and have gained a better understanding of how the contact tracing and quarantining procedures work. And once the realization comes that a mask keeps their child in school, sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but I think it's one that many parents are willing to if it helps to keep their child in school. Will the mandates continue as they are? I don't know. If I had to guess, I would guess there will be changes, just based off of what we experienced last year, where there seemed to be pretty consistent changes as we moved throughout the school year. And I have no doubt that we'll have to make adjustments and have further conversations as those changes occur. I do think it is a balance in terms of making sure that we are in a position where we're allowing choice for all of our families, while at the same time ensuring an environment that is safe and conducive to academics. And obviously, I'm showing today that I've made the choice to wear a mask. It's important to me to stay into school. I don't want to be quarantined. I love what I do. So it's important to me to display that message for our staff and for our students as well. And that's completely aside from my views and opinions on masking or non-masking, which I'm not going to share here today. I did want to share that view with the board, though, because it's important to me that our kids are in our classrooms. And we've seen too many of our children be quarantined in the first week of school. And if we could slow that flow of quarantine, I'm going to do what we can to keep our children in school. Otherwise, we are going to move forward to monitor the COVID and quarantine numbers as we did last year, and make necessary adjustments to our individual buildings or district as deemed necessary. One thing that we have begun discussing is potentially making some adjustments with our lunches to decrease the contact time between students at lunchtime. I don't know whether that's something we will be able to successfully do or not, but I'm bringing it up because we want to do everything we can, again, to minimize the amount of quarantines as possible that may be able to happen during the school day. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Sable, I do have one question. At the last meeting, I had asked, and it was confirmed, that if a student had COVID in the previous 90 days before, say they came in contact with somebody a new student who tested positive, would they be excluded from the quarantine? It's my understanding, I've been advised from parents of freshman college, Ohio University in particular, that if their freshman had COVID, had the positive test, and that result was submitted to the university, if they ended up coming into contact with a new COVID case, that student is excluded from any quarantine because they were considered under that 90-day still covered by antibodies. And I know that Chris Kwolek had confirmed that it was that 90 days. Is there going to be an effort to work with our health department and ask them to encourage the Ohio Department of Health to address that? Because really there should be a third tier on that quarantine process.
Actually, I am meeting with the health department every Tuesday with the other county superintendents, so that's something we can discuss. In terms of that chart, though, that wasn't designed through the Medina County Health Department. That's actually a statewide or a state level, is what I meant to say, chart. But I do know that the county health department also works on a state level, even all the way up to the governor's office. So that's a conversation that I can have with them.
I appreciate that, because if the colleges are doing it, the K through 12 should be doing it. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chambers, thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you recall, our last regular meeting was July 8th. And in July, we did not have our books closed until after that time. So I just want to give you a brief update of where we ended and then touch upon what happened in July here. So the sales tax balance ended at $3.5 million, which is good because we basically kept the sales tax where we were from the year before. The Rec Center Capital Fund ended at $237,000, and I know Ms. Pavlik is happy with that, because I believe last year we were looking at the teens or something like that with the ending balance. The sad part that we had last year was that our investment income dropped, and it thudded down here. We had $692,000 below the prior year, and we all know why that happened. And then finally, we ended the year with roughly 210 days true cash value, and that is taken just for our forecasted funds. So we're looking good, 210 out of 365 days. That seems like a good balance. Then we come into July, and the bank balance increased by $18.2 million. This was because we received advances from the county auditor's office. And we ended July with $88 million in the 5-year forecasted funds. The general revenue funds were about $816,000 above last July because of the property taxes. The expenditures were below last July, which is, I was floored with this because, you know, you just see severances go out, and you see all the expenditures that we had because of paving and because of roofing, but yet we were still $86,000 below last July, so we were happy. The sales tax fund balance is up to $3.7 million, and this is due to the fact that we received our quarterly payments from the county auditor. We spent roughly $729,000 on the paving and on the roofing. And then we have our rec center fund balance. We did not do anything with the rec center, so everyone's happy there. And we went and we received roughly $26,000 in investment income. Already we're below last July by $37,000. So you can see our investments have dropped quite a bit from where we were. I believe we were at a high of receiving $1.7 million a year 2 years ago. So it's going to be a long road back. And finally, the district general fund true days cash is estimated to be 266 days. Questions on those? Okay, and then we have our temporary appropriations. The temporary appropriations, what we added between July and August, we added the carryovers from all the other funds. So you'll see minor adjustments here with most of your funds. Then what we also added were the title funds. The title funds are your 500 funds, as you know, and those were all due to our CCIP, which is our state funding for our title. We received approval from them just this week. So we're looking for the board to approve the expenditures for those so we could get started with the school year on those. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Appreciate it. And at this time on the agenda, we have board communication. Anybody from the board like to address the group?
Mr. Skidmore, I would just like to address, I know that I have been talking individually with each of the board members, but I just wanted to let our community know that I am not running to renew or for my seat. As you all know, my son graduated, and he had to he had the opportunity to go to college out of state. And in fact, I just got back from an 11-day trip from moving him out there. I'm not sure exactly where our future is going to go with that, but I do definitely want to be able to be available to him if he needs me, you know, that mom thing. And but again, one of my friends told me at a graduation party that while he's starting the next chapter of his life, my husband and I are actually starting our next novel. So where that takes us and leads us, we're not sure, but I just wanted to make sure that I've thoroughly enjoyed my time on the board. We've done some great things here, and I am looking forward to seeing it continue, and hopefully, now I'm going to get a little teary, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to let everybody know that it's been a great time. I've gotten to know each and every one of you here, and I will treasure the time that I spent on the board for sure. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Pavlik, and you'll be here through the end of the year, right? Very good. So we appreciate your service, and thank you very much. Mr. Harrison?
Yep, thank you. I guess maybe from one side of the coin to the other, as she was speaking, it reminded me that, I've been on now for a month, and just wanted to say thanks to everybody in the administration for bringing me on board. Everybody else on the board has been a great resource as well, made themselves available. So I really appreciate that and all the efforts that have been made, and it just is another reminder of the many very talented people that we've got in those roles here. It's not a surprise, but it's a reminder of that, so I just wanted to say thanks for that. And then just in general, I think I'd also mentioned this to Mr. Sable last week, but how great it is back in school now, having everybody back, and the work that everybody puts into the facilities and everything over the summer. Everything that I saw last week looked fantastic, so kudos to everybody who makes that happen and stays after it over the summer. So,
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Ross?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to extend my condolences to the Place family, and kind of, I didn't prepare anything, it's just coming from my heart, but I feel like I lost a friend. I've known Milt for 30 years, and when you don't get to say goodbye, it kind of stings. But over that time, I got to volunteer at a lot of his events, cross-country and track, and I got to see a legend and do what he just loved. Milt was like, if you picture an artist painting, and they're creating a masterpiece, and I don't know if you've heard this expression, but that's what Milt was doing when he was coaching. He just loved what he was doing, and he pushed the kids to reach their full potential, and not to chase them away, but to make them the best student athletes that they could be. And he was good at it, and he did a great job, and he's going to be missed by a lot of us. I know he was extremely proud of where he came from. He went to Adams State in Colorado, and he was a student athlete under one of the most legendary coaches of all time, Coach Joe Vigil. And Milt invited Coach Vigil, it was a couple years ago, to speak here in Medina. And he came, and Milt was so proud that this iconic coaching figure was coming to his community where he coached. He was so proud of that. And the Coach Vigil has a book out right now. It's called Chasing Excellence. And Milt is in that book. He's part of the history of the Adams State cross-country program, and it's just fitting that as a student athlete himself, he was a great runner and learned a lot from Coach Vigil, and applied that to the kids today. And I just wanted to say that I see a lot of the kids, past and present, running through my neighborhood. And where did they get that from? They got that from an iconic coach who is absolute legend here in Medina, and we're going to miss him. I miss him. And just want to say we're extremely saddened to his family, and rest in peace, Mill Place. Thank you.
We lost a member of our Hives today, and it was a tough day for many. I would like to thank our staff and administrators who put aside their own grief today to take care of our kids. Thank you. Medina truly is a great community. Words cannot express the profound impact that Coach Milt Place has had on the countless number of students and families in our community, including mine. He was ever so humble, smart, and generous. If you know him, you know he had a mind for stats. And boy, could he not only remember a runner's PR, but he also knew when and where they ran that PR. We've lost a remarkable role model. Coach Place was always even-keeled. He wanted all of his runners to experience success, and he celebrated those successes. Everyone who met him is better for it. I have so much appreciation for him, and he will always have a special place in my heart and in the hearts of my family members. I ask that everyone please keep Coach Place and his family in your thoughts and in your hearts.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst, and thank you, Mr. Ross, for those kind words about Mr. Place, and it's such a loss. So thank you for the heartfelt statements. And just as far as board comments, as we continue on, the year has begun. The board's very pleased that things are proceeding and that all the sports are in action, and the band, and everybody is proceeding, and there's still a lot of protocols in place, so we appreciate that. Looking around the audience tonight, there's several people that are, I think, running for school board this fall. Here in the audience, I see Ann Manzi, Amy Smoyer, Jean Pritchard, and then of course Aaron Harrison and Becky Parkhurst. And I don't know if I've missed a couple others that are here tonight that are running. If I've missed a name, let me know. But those are the ones that are here tonight that I see. And so we appreciate the interest in the board, and I just wanted to mention that. And we'll have public comment later tonight. If you had wanted to speak, hopefully you've talked to Lisa and signed in at the front desk. I think if you still wanted to do that, you could. As we get into the public comment later. And now we'll go ahead and move to our action items.
If it pleases the board, action item number 1 is recommended the Board of Education approve the June 2021 and July 2021 treasurer's reports. Item number 2, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the temporary appropriations for the 21-22 school year. And finally, we have item number 3. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the following fund-to-fund transfers. This is a transfer of $36.97 to make the Claggett Student Council whole. They're looking at purchases here, and they have no money, so the principal's fund is donating money to them.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept action items F, 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public relating to these particular 3 action items? Hearing none, if you could call roll.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
And Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable?
It's recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations to the Medina City Schools. I would like to point out the many donations to the school district for opening of the school year school supplies. We are very fortunate to have so much support for our students, especially during the opening of the school year, to make sure our students are prepared to learn upon entering the classroom. Number 2, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the amendment to the service agreement between the Educational Service Center of Medina County and the Medina City School District to add the Medina County Virtual Academy for the 2021-2022 school year at a cost of $4,500 per student as needed. This is a new program through the Educational Service Center. This is a program that has been created due to the pandemic. Last year, we offered our own virtual academy here within the district. That was not financially feasible to continue that program, especially with a decrease in enrollment with the change in the pandemic. Therefore, we've collaborated with the other schools within Medina County and as well as the ESC to develop a county virtual academy, which is serving all of the schools in Medina County. This school serves grades K through 8. Kindergarten actually was just added, I believe, approximately a week ago due to acquiring enough enrollment to be able to do that. Number 3, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreements for the 21-22 school year and extended services for summer 22. And these are annual normal contracts. The first is for the Medina County Board of Developmental Disabilities for Windfall School services for extended school year for 22. In addition, TRECA Digital Academy. TRECA is what provides our online digital instruction at the high school for credit recovery as well as night school. We've been utilizing TRECA for a number of years, at least the last 5 or 6 years since I've been a part of the district. Number 4, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement between Medina High School and Michaud's, thank you, to host prom on May 7th, 2022. Making this recommendation to the board because this year's senior class is looking at changing locations, so they need board approval for this contract, and it's my understanding from talking to Mr. Skidmore that this is actually bringing back some history back to a location where prom was once held. Number 5, students placed at Evolve Academy. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreements that students placed at Evolve Academy will be provided educational services by the Medina City Schools for the following school districts. These include Black River, Brunswick, Buckeye, Copley-Fairlawn, Highland, Medina City, Norwayne, Triway, and Wadsworth City Schools. Again, this is an annual contract. The Evolve Academy is self-funded, so they rely on these contracts with other districts to provide services for students in order to cover their costs. There is the possibility that they could pick up additional contracts as the year proceeds, but it's nice to see so many schools contracting early on in the school year. Number 6, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding that students placed at the Medina County Juvenile Detention Center will be provided educational services by the Medina City Schools for the following districts: Black River, Brunswick, Buckeye, Cloverleaf, Highland, Medina, and Wadsworth. Again, this is an annual contract that is presented to the board. Medina City Schools does oversee the educational programming at the Juvenile Detention Center. We are reimbursed by the other school districts in the county. So this agreement allows for that reimbursement to occur as well as us to provide those services to students from other districts. Number 7, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between the Medina City School District and the MCTA, which is the Medina Teachers Association, for professional development requirements for the 2021-2022 school year. This is a very similar agreement that we entered into last year with the Teachers Association. The reason why we are asking for the board's approval for this adjustment is because of the pandemic. With adjustments in school hours, it makes it very difficult in order to cover all of the professional development requirements within the negotiated agreement, so we're asking for more flexibility for this upcoming school year. Number 8, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trip in compliance with Policy 2340 for the 21-22 school year, and this is for a boys golf tournament, and this is in Pickerington, Ohio, and will be an overnight trip. Number 9, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the district SOAR team to attend the Ed Leader 21 conference in Indianapolis, Indiana on October 11th through 13th, 2021, in order to network, share ideas, and learn from education leaders in an effort to realize the power and promise of 21st century learning for every student. This is the national conference for Ed Leader 21. Ed Leader 21 is part of the SOAR network, which is part of Battelle for Kids, which we've been working with in Columbus. It's part of the initiative that we've been working on with the Portrait of a Graduate, which has also driven our strategic planning process, which we are currently working on. Obviously, we would be driving to Indianapolis for attendance for this workshop. And number 10 is personnel. It is recommended that the following personnel are approved pending completion of all required paperwork per the Human Resources Office. And we do have several retirements on here, and I'm going to ask Dr. Kolek to come up and present some of these. I do want to present one of them, and Mr. Burkhart, which I think is here this evening, is a member of our central office administrative team. And I do have a little write-up here for Mr. Burkhart, but I wanted to say a few words first. I've had the opportunity to work with Mr. Burkhart over the course of the past 5 years. And I think one part that our community and even our staff often doesn't see is the business component of a school district and what it takes business-wise to operate a school district this size. When you're talking about operating 12 districts, you think about your house, your home, and trying to upkeep your home. When you're talking about multi-million-dollar HVAC systems that need to be maintained, you're talking about a large number of staff, and trying to do that on a penny-pinched budget, it can be quite a challenge. And Mr. Burkhart has successfully done that, and he's done it in a fashion where our facilities look outstanding. I've been in several different school districts, and I've been in districts where money has had to be pinched. And I believe I've said this at our board meetings before. If we needed to tighten our belts, I hate to say this, but one of the areas I would recommend cutting costs first is on our facilities. And I think it's important to have top-notch facilities, but I have a lot of faith and confidence in our teachers that if they need to teach out of a cave, it's more important to have top-notch educators. Obviously, you want both. And Mr. Burkhart has been able to make that happen here in Medina City Schools with a tight belt. And I appreciate him for doing that, and I appreciate the work and dedication that he's had with the district, and his dedication has gone beyond even his work, but his children have been a part of the district, both in the classroom and on the field. John Burkhart, Director of Business Affairs, is retiring with 30 years of service in education, with his last 14 years being at Medina City Schools. John became the Director of Business Affairs in Medina in 2007. John had previously worked with Mansfield, Olentangy, Westerville, and Crestline local schools. One of John's major projects in Medina was overseeing the construction of Northrop and Waite elementary schools. John worked hard to get the buildings done on time and on budget. We thank John for his years of service and for his ability to stretch tax dollars, hold contractors accountable, and his knowledgeable and experience, which he put to good use in Medina in the best interest of the district. We wish John all the best in retirement as he heads out west to Arizona. I'm just going to share one more story. One special attribute that you really have to have as a business director is calmness and patience. And I think one example is just this past summer when we were over in the high school, I think getting Chromebooks ready for distribution, and I get a call from John that the roof's on fire. And we weren't raising the roof or anything. But John totally had it together. I think he even climbed up there on the roof himself to take pictures to send my way, and they got it under control and things repaired, ready for kids to come back in no time without any major damage. So you never know what you're going to be dealing with on a daily basis when it comes to facilities. So thank you, John, for your work to the district.
I'm lucky enough to present two staff tonight. Zinda Hallinar is a longtime employee with over 29 years of service as a paraprofessional who's just been a gift to us, who works with our students with special needs. She began at Garfield Elementary in 1992 in our unit for students with behavioral and emotional needs, and then moved on to our unit for students with intensive needs at Garfield before moving on to Northrop Elementary when it opened in 2009. Zinda has been described as an asset to the district based on her grace, patience, kindness, and willingness to help every student and coworker. She does it with a smile and has never complained about anything during her long career. She always tells everyone she's lucky and blessed to have her job in Medina City Schools and has enjoyed every minute of it. She'll forever treasure the lifelong friends she has made while working in the district, but I feel like we're really the lucky ones who have been blessed to have Zinda. She's looking forward to spend more time with her 4 children and 6 grandchildren. Zinda's been through a lot, and we're really lucky to have had her here, so we do wish her all the best in her time. The other person who is retiring is Christy Bernarski, who is a teacher that has been here for 33 years in Medina City and 37 years total. She will forever be known as many students' first teacher in Medina City Schools, as she was a 26-year kindergarten teacher at Medina. She currently works at H.G. Blake Elementary, and the last 7 years plus she became a reading intervention teacher at Blake. She was one of Medina's first master teachers, and she's a champion for helping children reach their potential tirelessly on behalf of all her students. So we're sad to see her go, but we know there's a lot ahead for Christy as well. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve these action items.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst and Mr. Harrison. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Skidmore, can I just add to what Mr. Sable said about Mr. Burkhardt? I just want to thank you, John, for your service to the district. You've taught me a lot, not only with our time together, but even before I was on the board. And we'll never forget, my neighbor was involved in solar energy. I don't know if you remember that. And you took the time to meet him, this was years ago, at the rec center to listen to him, to see if he could help the district. And he never forgets that to this day. So that's much appreciated, what you did that day. And that's just the kind of person you are. So thank you for your service to the district. Enjoy your retirement, and congratulations.
Mr. Skidmore, I have one question. Mr. Sable, on the service agreement for Mashad's, when I was reading through that, I noticed that there is a section pertaining to alcohol, and should it be updated to state no alcohol at event? Because it did go into detail, and I know what it is it's their standard service agreement, but I'm just curious, since it applies to a school district, should we make a special note on that?
I'm sorry, which item are you referring to?
Mashad's for the prom.
Oh, yeah, definitely no alcohol.
Yeah, it's referenced on page 4.
Okay, I will most definitely
Page 4?
take a look at that.
Okay, I think it's page 4. Yes. Okay.
And then my comment on the SOAR team, I think you said there's about 6 or 7, maybe 8 that would travel with that, so it's not large numbers of people traveling with it. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public on action items G 1 through 10 that we're going to vote on? Hearing none, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item H.
I'm scared to say this with so many prospective board members here tonight, but there's not a lot of real special things board members get to do, but this is one of them tonight. I get to present to the board tonight the awarding of a diploma to a veteran. The board awards a diploma per policy 9800 to Mr. Lawrence Allen Hood. Mr. Hood dropped out of Medina High School in 1969 to enlist into military service and is now being approved as a 2021 graduate of Medina High School. Mr. Hood was presented his diploma at his class reunion this summer. We thank him for his service and congratulate him on this accomplishment.
I'll make the motion to accept action item award diploma to veteran.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Any questions or comments?
Outstanding.
Just glad that the district has the ability to do that, and we're glad that you're able to do that at his reunion. That's such a special thing to be able to do that, and we appreciate, the board appreciates the service that Mr. Hood has given to his country. So, any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is a stipend payment. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the stipend payment to Tyler Skidmore in the amount of $150 for serving as a cooperating teacher for a Baldwin Wallace student during spring 2021.
Make a motion to approve action item I1.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? I'll be abstaining as I'm related. He's my nephew. Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, if you could call roll.
Mr. Ross? Aye. Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Support staff substitute pay rates. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the updated support staff substitute worker rates effective September 1st, 2021. I know we've talked many times at meetings about the challenges in finding substitutes. This has not only been a challenge in finding teacher substitutes, but support staff substitutes as well. We have not presented substitute pay increases to the board for many years. These substitute increases, as recommended, are to make them more competitive with surrounding businesses. We do know for a fact that we have lost potential employees over this past summer alone due to low pay rates compared to other opportunities.
I make a motion that we approve action item J1.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst. Any questions or comments from the board? Just that we did go over these, and these amounts seem reasonable. Just in two of us had a discussion privately, but just as a board update, they seemed reasonable. You know, any questions or comments from the public? Okay, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sable.
And it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Medina City School Psychologist Association effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. The contract has no changes in terms of the insurance provisions. The increases within the contract, I'm just pulling it up here. Is a 0% for the 21-22 school year, a 1.75 for the 22-23 school year, a 1.75 for the 23-24 school year. There are additional steps that are added into the salary schedule, which actually makes it around a 2.22% increase per year averaged out.
I move that the board approve action item K1 as referenced by Mr. Sable.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison and Mrs. Parkhurst. Any questions or comments from the board? Just like to say I appreciate the work the administration did this spring with the psychologist union, and I believe this is our second contract with the union, so we appreciate the work that was done there and the efforts to come up with the bargain agreement. So we thank you for all the efforts of you and Chris and Jim and our council that were involved with it and everybody on both sides. So we appreciate everybody working together. Any questions or comments from the public? The agreement is in board docs, item K1. There's a PDF attachment, the contract's there. Hearing no questions or comments from the public, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and at this point in the agenda, we have public participation. And we ask community members who wish to address the board to abide by the following guidelines. Attendees shall register their intention to participate in the public portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting. After those that have registered have spoken, if time allows, the board president will ask for public participation from other attendees. When you come up to the podium here, there's two different podiums, whichever is closer to you. Please state your name, address, and affiliation. Please keep comments to a maximum of 3 minutes, and I think we have a clock if we still do, Mr. O'Call. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. And again, this is your time for public comment, so if you have questions for the board, that's fine, but we don't usually address the questions in this period, and there may be an opportunity that the administration could respond back and answer a question, but if you come up, it's not just a Q&A session. It's you make a statement, you have 3 minutes to do that. So we have a few people that have registered their intention to speak. I see a Brockway at 210 Walnut. Mr. Brockway, come on up. And then Jenna and Wendy Shabrowski would be the next two. If you want to go ahead and come up to the other lectern, you're welcome to. Mr. Brockway, if you don't mind coming up a little closer to the lectern, we want to make sure you're recorded on the mic so everybody can hear you.
I did a lot of research. My whole life has been research. I'm an engineer and been doing a lot of research. I also have been involved with the school. I was the one that pushed passing the bond issue for the new athletic complex. Actually, it was my wife that did the work. She should have got the credit. Also, to bring you up to date, that I have other things. There was a tractor failure at the fairgrounds. It blew up, and I was the lead investigator on that. And I worked with my professor at Case Institute of Technology, and we determined what the final cause of the failure was. 18 lawyers filed 18 lawsuits. That was just terrible. Okay. I'm here to bring you up to date on some of the virus things that I have done a great deal of research. At Christmas Eve, Dr. Osborne wrote an article, and he said, had everyone been on vitamin D in this country, 90% of the people who died would not have died last year of the virus. He's right. My research has shown that 50% of the people in this country lack total vitamin D, so they don't have the access to fight the virus properly. That was him, yeah. The woman at the CDC has just said that the new virus, she's afraid that there's a lot of people that don't have the immunity will be hit very hard. Why hasn't the CDC or the medical society pushed people to have vitamin D to get everybody up to snuff so that we don't have problems? Vitamin D, that's one thing, and that my position would be that all school children should be on vitamin D. It costs 4 cents for a little pill, 4 cents every day. And you can build the immunity up. Of course, children have natural immunity, but it fades as they get older. That's a possibility of doing that, and you wouldn't have any problems. The next thing is...
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Brockway. Your 3 minutes are up. We're sorry, it goes fast. I apologize. Well, your time's up, I'm sorry. But if you have papers you'd like the board to have, we'll...
I'll just say 2 more things. 2 people, a guy, a research man in Minnesota, Dr. Gottlieb, the FDA man, have both said masks are worthless. They don't do anything.
Okay, thank you.
I could give you the research on it, but...
Thanks, Mr. Brockway. Okay, we have Jenna and Wendy Shabrowski over here.
Yes, hi, I'm Jenna, and I live at 1143 Bryn Mawr Lane, and I'm a student at Medina. For one of my classes, I had to do research on I picked Ohio, and after reading the article, I found out some things that could apply to Medina. Okay. Within recent events that have happened at Medina High School, I think that masks should be mandatory. Not everybody's getting the vaccine and not everybody's following the rules for masks. So as I walked through the halls on Friday, the first week back at school, I noticed that more kids were wearing masks that usually don't. Then I realized that it was the football team and all the players on it. After connecting the dots, I concluded that there must have been some sort of COVID-related thing. If not, then maybe they just chose, but they never wear their masks. So I just concluded that, and after hearing things from everybody else, that somebody had got COVID on the team or is being tested. Hearing students talk about masks and getting the vaccine, I realized how selfish some people are. I got vaccinated by choice when I turned 16, and I've been almost vaccinated for 6 months with no problems. I still wear a mask to protect myself and protect others around me. And then when masks were mandatory for people without the vaccine, many people went against it anyways. It confuses me because they think that there's something cool or unique about lying about having the vaccine. They lied about getting the vaccine and then brag about not having to wear a mask when they're still not vaccinated. It confuses me because that is so inconsiderate and so selfish to put other people in danger because you can't suck it up and put a mask on. They don't realize that healthcare workers do this all day and all night to try to fight against this vaccine. You're not helping anybody but the sorry, I meant to say but the infection and but COVID-19, but you're not helping anybody but oh my goodness, sorry, excuse me, but the virus. And then in school, if you're wearing your mask below your nose or below your chin, it's not gonna help anybody. And it's just gonna keep spreading. And then with this new strand of the virus, it's just going to get worse. If you wanna go back to not having to wear masks at all, then you should put one on now, or we'll still be doing this in years down the road. Hopefully not, but you never know, especially with what's been happening recently. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Victoria Droley.
And I just start?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'm a little nervous. First, I want to say thank you for your time because I know it's very hard to do a job that not many people want to do, and there are no right answers in this situation. Obviously, I have a mask on tonight. I feel strongly about mask wearing. I also feel fairly confident that with my kids wearing masks at school, they're at least safe, and I can't force anyone else to do what they don't feel like is right for their own families. So my main concern tonight, some of the questions that I have that I think there's just a lot of vague information about what will happen, and I think a lot of the answers that we've received are we'll wait and see, and I'm not really a wait and see kind of person. But it's more regards to quarantine as opposed to the mask mandate, because right now we've been in school for a week, and at my kids' school, at a lot of the schools, maybe all of them in Medina now, have had at least cases in quarantines. And, you know, last year my kids did MODA and we made that choice, and then the second semester they went back, because I got to tell you, MODA was hard. Having my kids home was hard. It was very strenuous on our relationship during a time that already has so many stresses and concerns. I don't want to have to worry about my children being upset about me being mom and teacher and all the other things. So for me, when I look at the guidelines, the flow chart, and it says, okay, your kids are wearing a mask, they don't have to quarantine, great, that's awesome. But I guess what I'd really like to know is what's going to happen, I'll say if, but when we reach the point, like so many other states, where either more kids are in quarantine than are in the classrooms, or more teachers are in quarantine than we have substitutes. And when my family is doing the recommended thing and my children are doing the recommended thing, will there be a guarantee that they get to continue to school in person? Because like has been said, I think the one thing that we all agree on, regardless of the mask issue, is that in-person learning is the best for our children. So I just feel like regardless of how you feel about the masks, whether they work or don't work or whatever, you would think that wearing them would be worth keeping the kids in the classroom. So for those of them wearing them, I would just hope that there's some sort of plan in place to keep them in the classrooms. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Julie Sems.
Hi, my name is Julie Sems, 4891 Timber Creek Drive in Medina. I didn't prepare anything, so bear with me. I just have a few thoughts. Listening to the COVID update that Mr. Sable had presented earlier, I'm going to be honest with you, it makes me very sad, very, very sad, because I listen and I read the COVID updates through the emails, and you say that, you know, it's a choice, and it's a choice to wear a mask, and all that great stuff, but yet you're effectively just punishing those through the quarantine. Because that is what it is. It is punishment. If these kids who choose to make a different health decision for themselves, and for parents who make different health decisions for their family, and choose to breathe the fresh air for whatever reason, that is their right. But you're basically saying, you know what, yes, that's your right, but we're still gonna go ahead and punish you if your kid is caught with someone, at school who tested positive, because that is what is happening. We all know that, okay? And again, for the record, vaccinated people transmit the disease just as well as those who are unvaccinated. That has been proven over and over again. So right now, all I see and all I'm hearing as a parent is that you're discriminating against kids who make a different health decision. And for a school district who prides themselves on not bullying and being inclusive, none of this is inclusive. Not one bit is inclusive. And that needs to change, because that is wrong, and you are separating kids, and it is divisive. And you all know that, and I say that with all due respect. In light of that, my last thought here, but as I read the email again on the COVID update, nowhere on there is there a listing of how many students are being quarantined. And I think in an effort of full and 100% transparency from the school district, it should be listed how many kids, how many healthy kids are being sent home for 10 to 14 days because they made a different health decision and are basically not getting in-person learning because you're punishing them. It's pretty much an out-of-school suspension. And I don't really have words. I am so upset about this. That needs to change because it is wrong. You cannot. I don't want to hear anything about the school district being inclusive and welcoming to all their students if this is your policy, because it is wrong, and you all know that. And again, I say that with all due respect because you do a job, all of you, that is very difficult to do. But you need to think on that because it is wrong. It is very, very wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, Heather O'Neill. We have Heather O'Neill next. And then Rebecca Lewis, if you're here, if you want to, you'll be the next.
So Heather O'Neill, 5563 Rosemont Way, and I have 2 children in the district, one also that graduated as a senior last year. I too am very saddened to hear what Mr. Sable said tonight as far as promoting masks within the schools. I don't think that's the school district's job. You're not health professionals, and you're not the parents of my child. And I should be the one to decide what I promote to them as far as their health and talking with their doctor and us making our own health decisions. In fact, just as this last lady said, I'm just appalled that you feel that it's the school's job to promote masks to families that have made their own decision to not wear a mask. I don't understand that. So that saddens me greatly. What also saddens me is when I hear people saying that people are selfish for not wearing a mask. And when someone makes reference to a football team not wearing the masks, or wearing the masks, excuse me, I happen to know a lot of parents that have kids in athletics that are having their kids wear masks against their will, or against what they would advise their children to normally do, because they don't want to miss athletics. Because if they get quarantined, or possibly someone else, and another student sibling gets quarantined in their home, they are afraid that they will miss out on athletics for the 14 days or whatever the quarantine period is. And I know parents and kids in athletics, that's exactly why they're wearing a mask. They're not wearing a mask because they want to wear a mask or that they feel that they're protecting other people. And I think you need to really think about the precedents you're setting in the school for these children and how they are going to think about the decisions that they make about these masks and how they talk to their families about these masks and the pressure that's put on them to wear these masks when their families may feel differently, or pressure on them to get a vaccine that their families have made a decision that is not right or something that they need to do. You're putting unnecessary pressure on children and families, and it's not your job to do that. There are health professionals out there, there are other people out there that are meant for that we can consult, but it's not your job to do that. You are educators, and people need to make their decisions on whether or not they're gonna come to school based on fear or no fear, but you're there to educate, and that's it, and definitely not on health. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Lewis.
Thank you. I guess it's working great. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you guys tonight. I appreciate it. And
You can state your address.
I'm sorry, Reckless 4014 Boxelder Drive, right behind the Home Depot there. So, but yeah, thank you very much. It's maddening to me, you guys. And I look at all of us, honestly, like, honestly, my kids go to private school. I'm here as a concerned parent, a concerned citizen of Medina. I want to stick up for all these kids that are going to the public school, right? But I look at all of us. It's not us versus you guys. It's nothing like that, right? We are all victims. And that's a touchy thing to say because no one wants to look at it that way. But the truth is they have lied to us this whole time. I don't know how to stress that enough. Fauci, the CDC, the NIH, the WHO, everyone has lied to us, almost everyone, this whole time, okay? And everybody else, other people that spoke are right. Like, it's not your guys' job to tell parents and students what to do and masks or vaccines or whatever. By the way, the vaccines are a kill shot. I'm sorry if anybody got one. Please, 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 please don't get any boosters. Please, there's ivermectin, there's HCQ, there's zinc, there's vitamin D. It's still summertime. Go out and get some sunshine. You know what I mean? But they have lied to us. So all this stuff is null and void. All this COVID stuff is null. There is no pandemic. There never was. The FDA, the CDC, 3-4 weeks ago just said that the PCR tests are bogus, so we can't distinguish between the flu and COVID. Well, of course. They were running cycles out to 35 and 40 cycles the whole time. And now they tell us, right? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They had the pandemic, supposed pandemic, was based on cases. People are still testing. We're still getting cases. The Delta variant. Next week it's going to be another variant. It's ridiculous. Let's wake up. Just get some HCQ, get some ivermectin, get some zinc, It's ridiculous. There is no pandemic. There never was. I've watched this for 2 years solid. I was home with a newborn the whole time. Podcast after video, after article. When, you get so many people, credible, good people coming out to state their opinions and to give you facts, and they're all corroborating each other and backing each other up, knowing that they're going to be made out to be fools and mocked. Obviously they're doing it because they feel strongly about it, and it's because they're morally convicted. They're not doing it to lie. Let's use our heads. No more masks, no more vaccines. You don't need any of that baloney. I mean, come on. All right? Does that make sense? 100%. Okay, thank you.
Okay, according to the sign-in sheets, it looks like everybody that signed in to speak has spoken. Do we have anybody else that wanted to public comment? Please come on up and state your name. If there's two of you, so if one wants to go over to this side and one to the other, please state your name and address, and if you have an affiliation.
Okay. I guess I'll go first. Jill Machowski, 6101 Triple Crown Drive. I just wanted to speak to some of the speakers too, I guess reiterate what they said. I came here tonight. I don't have kids in the school district anymore, but again, I'm a concerned parent as well. And I find it very disturbing as well that we're going to have a mask, encouragement party or whatever it is, because honestly, that does create more division amongst our students. I talk to my neighbors and their children, and they already have each other talking and saying, why aren't you being vaxxed? Why aren't you masking? And they don't know their personal situation. I honestly have a son that's autistic. He can't wear a mask. It's very difficult for him. And I'm struggling with his college to let him not wear a mask. Nobody knows your personal situation. Everybody needs to be understanding, and we need to come together as a community to say, hey, that's not, your decision doesn't agree with mine, but that's your decision. It's your health. And as educators, that's what we should be doing, is bringing everybody together. And honestly, at this mask encouragement, whatever it's called, if you're going to be honest, there's no way you can say that these masks are effective. I know parents have brought studies upon studies here. I have a list in my car of 47 studies over the last probably 30 years that masks don't work. They can't work. It's scientifically impossible to work. So to have such an encouragement party or whatever is a lie. I mean, you need to let these people make their own decisions and encourage everybody to support that and just let it be. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jocelyn Kopic. I'm at 3838 Weymouth Woods Drive. And I am like the previous girl who stood at this podium, and I am not buying this stuff either. I am not one of the sheep fooled by COVID. So I'm not going to stand here and pretend like COVID is why we are masking our children and the reason you don't want parents inside the schools. You obviously have been hearing the facts, because I've been coming here for several months as parents inform you repeatedly about the facts. So what is going on? Well, we are in the midst of a communist revolution, and our children are being used and radicalized for this evil, and you are leading them. You are not concerned about their safety. You said today, we want to mask the children so they can stay in school. So is this about safety or complying to the communists? Brief history, 1943 to 1976, Mao Zedong led the Communist Party in China. What events took place during this revolution? If you read about this history, you would see the striking similarities of what we are seeing today. Police under attack, all the way to conservative teachers forcefully resigning. So, in interest of time, here are some highlights from our past. Red August, 1966, under Mao. From August to September 1966, a total of 1,772 people, including teachers and principals, were killed by the Red Guard. Who was in the Red Guard? Our own students, our children, high school students and college students. Here's a little bit more history. Youth mobs who threw themselves into a crazed campaign as Red Guards in colleges and high schools throughout the country. They repudiated their teachers and principals as capitalists or striking intellectuals and pressed them into service as laborers. Mao called on a new revolution to stamp out what he called bourgeoisie and counter-revolutionary influences. The ensuing chaos helped shore up his personality cult and get rid of the political opponents. The early enforcers were the Red Guards, a proxy army of children and young adults that violently attacked.
Thank you. I'm sorry, your time's up, but thank you. And I see we have one more that's come up, so that'll be our last speaker tonight. Please go ahead. State your name, address, affiliation.
My name is Chrissy Mize. I live at 4902 Foot Road, Unit 27. I did not come prepared to speak this evening, but after hearing Mrs. Sims, I thought I should. One of my children, I have 2 children in the school district, one of them is in quarantine because he came in close contact with somebody who tested positive. And I just want to express my disappointment in the lack of consistent protocol throughout. I will just address he's in 10th grade, it's his teachers. There's one teacher that says you have to sign in and here you go. He's received response, oh, you'll just wait until next week, or sorry, it's hands-on stuff that you just can't see, you're out of luck. And to me, that is unacceptable because it goes to what Mrs. Sims had said, where my child is being treated differently and he's being taught differently because I make different health choices than what that flow chart says. And for the life of me, and I cannot get a hold of anybody at the health department, so maybe at the next meeting, maybe Mr. Sable can clarify and get clarification on how somebody who wears a mask and or has had the shot is less likely, they can show up to school with the mask on because somehow that makes them less likely to pass on a virus, but my son can't attend school even if he were to wear a mask. I don't understand how that works. How are they less likely to spread something with a mask on than my son is with a mask on? But I really just wanted to express my disappointment. Last year, there seemed to be a pretty good game plan in place for children who were quarantined. Well, you know what, you can do something online, or you're going to stream, or you're going to do whatever. It seems to be left up to the teachers, and it's been incredibly disappointing. And thankfully, it's the first week of school, so we're not getting into a bunch of nitty-gritty. But the fact that he's missing out on stuff in honors classes because it's hands-on stuff that, fine, he can't do that at home, but he can't even see what the teacher is trying to teach these children. He's missing out on that opportunity, and I really hope that there's something put into place to change that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, this is not a Q&A period, but there was something brought up about the quarantines and so forth, and if you, I don't know if you want to address that we have to follow the state protocol with that's not our choice at that point, Mr. Sable?
Yeah, just to clarify.
Sorry, order, please, go ahead, Mr. Sable.
In terms of contact tracing, and I think it's difficult to hear some of this information because I hear follow the experts, don't follow the experts, and you know, what we try and do is follow the experts, and absolutely right, we're educators, and that's why we want our students in school, and the experts is the Ohio Department of Health, and what they're saying is that we have to follow the flow chart in terms of quarantines. Technically, we are not the ones even quarantining or contact tracing, it's the health department. And in keeping kids in school, I'm just trying to be straightforward. A mask is more likely to keep a child in school, period. That's a fact. You may not like that fact, but it's a fact. And I'm not telling you to wear a mask, but I'm telling you if you want your child to stay in school, it's more likely if they wear a mask.
So, but if people are unhappy with the quarantine rules and so forth, they should contact the State Department of Health and let the state know. Their local legislators, would the county health department be a good resource for them to contact as well as the state if they feel that that's too long of a quarantine or something like that? Again, we can't change it on a case-by-case basis.
Right,
We have to follow the flow chart.
quarantine lengths, we don't set any of that. That would all be through, the local health department doesn't even set that. That's set at the state level.
And we're not really here as a board to litigate, are masks effective, are they not? That's really not our role. In other words, we're following recommendations that have been put down from the state. We could have a 10-hour debate about whether masks are effective or not, but that's not really our place at that point. So it is a very complicated issue. We appreciate the work you're doing, Mr. Sable, and Dr. Kwalik. I know she's been helping heavily this summer, and the rest of the administration, and we're glad the kids are back in school. And we hope to keep them there and hope to keep everybody healthy, and we appreciate all the opinions with it. So Anybody else have anything on the board tonight? Hearing none, we don't have a reason for executive session tonight.
One last thing, Mr. Skidmore. I do want to invite everybody, they're going to turn the lights on in the stadium, the new scoreboard, so if you're interested in seeing that, I invite you outside to the stadium to take a look. I heard it looks great. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Very good. So I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Please call roll.
Yes, Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross. Aye. Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.